Right, I've started the recording now,
Right.
so we can put this on for people to see. Um,
What, you
yeah,
and me?
yeah, well, yeah. Anyway, apologies. I got Roland Dickon, Bernard Stogden's in hospital,
Oh
so all
dear.
the best to Bernard. Um, uh, Diane's trying again. Keep trying to put her mic off, but hope you can see us, Diane. Can't see you, but we'll carry on. Um, Diane, we're trying to get on at the moment. Barbara James's golden wedding, so she's got friends round. Richard Spalding didn't know if he could make it. Lewis Reynolds is babysitting. Ray Withnell is in Normandy, and Kevin Snowden's away. So we have got a few not making it. I don't think. Well, I did. I did. I was going to type off the list I did for the agenda, but there's only us here, so I don't think that's
Oh
worthwhile
no, don't
starting
worry.
the agenda. But uh, this week I've been busy because one of the Facebook members asked me if I'd asked me some questions about his dad, and he died the 3rd of the 4th. 42. He was on the Scorpion, HMS Scorpion, and he wanted to know what camps he was at because he was a POW, but he didn't know what camps he was at before he died. But having gone into it and reread Singapore's Dunkirk, the Grasshopper, Scorpion, and Dragonfly were gunboats from Hong Kong, and they were put over to Singapore when Japan invaded Malaya. So they were in Singapore, and when they knew that Singapore was going to fall, they used the ships. To evacuate, mainly troops. Some females were on the Dragonfly, I think it was, but they evacuated the ships. Well, I managed in the end to manage to download from the Commonwealth War Graves the lists of those who died in the sinkings of these 3 ships. They all sunk in the Backer Straits. So they all went down, and so those who survived were POWs. So I managed to find that out, and then I managed to download those who died. At first, I thought that was the 14th of February, but that turned out in the end that was the 13th. So I managed to download the whole roll of the Scorpion, who were sunk by Japanese destroyers on the 13th, and they were still in the water by the 14th. So they could have been in a bit of a state when they were picked up. Those who were picked up, there was only 9, as far as I can see, that were picked up. And John Taylor, who James was asking me about, was one of those who was picked up. But he died on the 3rd of the 4th. So we know he didn't make it. So I said to James, more than likely, because I read that the boat was, the Scorpion was engulfed in flames, so could have been badly burnt, could have been in the sea for a long time, and they didn't have a lot of time to get anything overboard to survive. So they were a long time in the sea, so that, a lot of them died actually in the water. then when I read the Singapore's Dunkirk, the Dragonfly was sunk. The Dragonfly and the Grasshopper was sunk by Japanese aircraft, and they, when they were in the water, they were actually gunned by the aircraft as well. So a lot of them were killed actually in the water after when the boat was going down. So there was a lot of deaths at these three ships, but the Scorpion seemed to have had the most deaths. I've now got it to 66 crew members, not the evacuees. The crew members actually died on the spot, so they died either when the ship went down or in the water. That's surprising though, Tim. One little bit of asking brings out a lot.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, somebody asks you something and you start looking into it, and then Keith came up with something today, which he actually found that John Taylor was actually died being taken to Sumatra, and was buried at sea. So he wasn't in a POW camp, he was actually buried at sea. So the trouble is, I've now got I had 9. I think I've got 5 unaccounted for. I can't find anything on them being POWs, but they must have been, because their dates of death were during the POW reign type of thing.
Yes, I remember, you might not remember, but well over a year ago when I asked you a question about the 600 party, the Gunners 600, and you then found a file which had got 4 or 5, 6 who hadn't actually got on the ship.
Yeah.
So do you actually think, I've always been meaning to ask you, do you actually think now that there never was exactly 600?
I don't think there was. I don't think there was, because I think I found 3 or 4 now that were put as being on the ship, but they weren't on the ship.
Yes.
And the Japanese, although we think they're a bit hard, they didn't like the sick to go onto the ships. So they did give them extensive tests before they put them on the ships. You've heard of the glass tube one.
Oh, yeah.
It goes up the rectum.
Yeah. I know that from my dad, but I'm not too sure that you're right about them not wanting the sick to go on the ship, because if you read Colonel Scott's report of them going from Java, which is the bit about the mystery party, which you kindly put onto, I think you put onto the Singapore Maru. He said they had to take stretcher cases on because the Japanese refused to accept lesser numbers. And then if you read the other report, which was it Surgeon Lieutenant Stenning, who's the Australian who actually went to Moji to, help the survivors. Well, hardly help, but, the survivors of Singapore Maru, he said he thinks half the problem with the dysentery was that they actually put, sick cases on board.
Yeah. There's mixed feelings, really, because there's a lot of sick were rejected getting on board the boats, and that wasn't the British that rejected them; that was the Japanese. They did scare the owners. I think that all depends which Japanese were doing it.
I think it may be if you were being put on from Changi that they didn't like to put the sick on, but in Java they just wanted to get rid of everybody.
Yeah, they didn't bother. It's get back to Singapore Maru. The 2 mystery ones were complete mysteries. They didn't have Java parties at all. They were called the mystery. There was 2 of them.
Well, I think that's probably because they didn't go through Changi, wasn't it? They actually just changed ships in the docks.
Yeah. that could well have been. I mean, one went straight to Burma, didn't it? What I remember, one went straight to Burma. Began with T. Can't remember the name of it now.
Mm.
That didn't go to Changi at
But
all. It went straight to
that's why I've always thought they were called mystery parties, because the records would be Changi records. Even the Java parties would have been made up in Changi, wouldn't they?
Changi, yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't actually be made in Java, so.
Yeah, well, the Awa Maru didn't have a Java party name, and that went straight from Java to Japan. So that was one ship that didn't go, and that didn't get a Java party name. So that stands to reason, I should think, that the Java parties, the initials were given at Changi. And those two ships we've been talking about, as they didn't go into Changi, they didn't get any name. So that's why they call mystery parties. Anyway, that's nice to see you again.
Oh, well, no, weekends have been my favourite spare time at the moment, and I'm not even too sure I'm going to make the next meeting if it's in a fortnight's time. But anyway,
Yeah,
I
well,
do my best, and I always watch the recording. So,
yeah,
and I thought the last two meetings were very interesting.
Yeah, there's some good stuff come out. Yeah, I've been trying to do bits and pieces, but trying to get the bathroom and the house sorted out has been a bit of a pain. I've got my boy coming over this morning. He's coming over at 12 because I've got some 8x4 25 mil sheets I've got to cut up, and I can't lift them outside. So I want a hand, so he's going to come and give me a hand. But I've got to get the floor down, and the reason I took the floor up was I wanted to tile it, and that was on floorboards, and you can't put tiles on floorboards. So I've taken all the floorboards up, and I'm putting this. I did the other bathroom last year or the year before, and tiled it, and I'm going to do this all en suite. But I've got to get it done before we can even think about moving. Oh, getting older.
Oh, no, tell me about it.
Yeah, dear. Yeah. So what have you been doing? Anything interesting?
Not major interesting. No, I said this other website which I'm on, quite a lot, which is World War II in general. It's actually I find very interesting, and it's a very active site.
Yeah.
There's always questions being asked every day, so you learn a lot from it, and it's amazing to me how much expertise there is out. I mean, I know you're expert on the FEPOWs, but there's experts on Dunkirk, experts on bloody equipment, experts on guns.
Yeah. The nice thing about it is we've had 2 or 3 letters lately saying that school children have been writing articles.
Well, that's good,
school, which is that's good, that because not many. You mentioned even World War II, and you think, what was that? They didn't do anything about it. I mean, I think. Yeah, I think when I was at school, that was just after the war, and our headmaster used to bring in records of all Churchill's speeches. And he used to play them to us in the hall. I mean, he was a good speaker. He could speak himself around anything. He was a good speaker. I mean, I certainly wouldn't have liked his job. I know we blame him for the 18th Division and everything, but he was a man at the right time, I think, to get.
Well, I think it was certainly for rousing speech and rhetoric. He was certainly brilliant, but whether he overestimated himself on his military capabilities, I don't know.
I mean, Dad gone with the 18th Division. You think, well, that he made a mistake, but it's like a game of chess, isn't it? You lose a pawn, gain a knight or something, and
Yeah.
and I couldn't do it, and I don't think many people could do it, but he could do it. And
Mm.
I mean, the 18th Division really was sacrificed to keep the peace with Australia, weren't they?
Yeah, that's what
Really.
I think that as well. It was a political
Yeah.
move.
So,
Either that, or they just didn't appreciate how bad the problem was.
well, I don't know
You
when
know,
you,
whether the
yeah,
communications between Singapore and London weren't brilliant, and and they were.
I think we had a bit of we're kings of the empire, and we can do this, we can do that,
Mm,
and we were living in the past. I think a lot of the time, we didn't think the Japanese were going to be as good as they were. Um, they, they
no, no, but in hindsight, the signs were all there apparently, weren't they?
mm, mm,
I mean, even Percival's, and who was it? Dobby's report in the late 30s said
yeah,
that there should have been strengthening of the troops and equipment.
but it gets me when they set up Matador, for the Japanese invasion,
Yeah, and
knowing
then
that
didn't
was
do
going
it.
to come, and they didn't even put it into operation.
No, I know.
And when they get down to Singapore, they wouldn't put any defences up because that might have brought the
Affected the
morale.
population.
Yeah, that might have brought the morale of the population down. I mean, what are they talking about? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Uh,
Um, I think Singapore was, a colony who thought, they were it, and
yeah.
and unfortunately they underestimated the Japanese, definitely.
Mm.
Let's face it, the Japanese were a good fighter. You
I
know,
was
they
I was reading somewhere, and I haven't actually followed it up, but apparently was there a submarine squadron based in Singapore which was withdrawn, you know, to the Atlantic
yeah,
and left Singapore, undefended. I mean, before the war with Japan had started, they'd said, "Oh, we've got all these submarines loafing around in Singapore. We'll
yeah.
bring them all back."
No, I just think we were so worried about Europe and the Germans invading Britain that we tend to push everything to one side. The Far East can go to one side. That's a long way away. That's not going to affect us. But of course, that did affect us. And the Japanese played it well. I mean, they promised the different countries they invaded independence from the Dutch, the British, and they played the situation right at the beginning. But of course, then we knew the Rumusha, they had it really bad, and they were the people they were supposed to be defending the Japanese. They played it right at the beginning, I think, to get countries on their side. Because at the beginning, Thailand were in kind of, do we go one way, do we go the other way? Because Japan promised them this and promised them that.
Mm.
But as Dad said, when he was a POW, the Thais really did help them. Brought stuff to the camp and everything. But yeah. So yeah, I think the Japanese really were ahead of us because they had been fighting since 31, hadn't they?
Mm.
1931. So they were war ready where we weren't, and their guerrilla tactics we learnt in Burma. That's what got us through Burma, going behind enemy lines and attack them from the back. So they had to retreat, and that's what they used right the way down Malaya, which we
Mm.
really hadn't come across before. I don't know if they're expecting the Japanese to blow a whistle when they blow a whistle and let's start fighting. That didn't happen, did it? That just didn't happen. Um, no, I'm still reading my Roman books because when I got up North Norfolk, I do like to try and get away from, writing pages and everything.
Mm.
So I've been reading the Roman books, and some of the fighting described in the books as, hand-to-hand fighting. And even in their times, they met before the battle. Even when they fought in Britain, they met before the battle and tried to make peace before they had the battle. But mind you, when they turned around, they were showered by arrows and stuff till they got back to their defences. But what else has been happening? Oh, we got to 500. We're now at 526, I think.
What's that on Facebook?
Facebook. It's going quite well, actually.
I don't do Facebook, so.
Well, you ought to get on there. You said about being active.
Is it? Yeah.
And that really is active.
Perhaps I will. But
there's something coming on every day.
Is it right that there's no sort of historical reference on? I mean, you can't go back. Like, if you're on the website or something,
yeah, well,
on the Judy pages, it was all recorded. But
yeah, I did introduce topics. So you can add, when you put in a topic yourself, a posting, you can put a topic in it. So then if you want to know about, say, the railway, the Sumatra Railway, for instance, you can look up Sumatra Railway and it'll give you all the postings for Sumatra Railway. I did introduce it, but people don't tend to use it. So you're looking at the latest postings.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I mean, we get quite a few postings come in each day, and then like this one about the dragonfly and everything, and the scorpion and grasshopper. That was just through a posting in Facebook that got me going into it and found out the rest.
Perhaps I'd better have a shot at it because
I think
I'll just
I think you'd enjoy it when you're on it.
Yeah, well, I probably would. It'd probably be another time-consuming thing. I can't put it down.
Yeah, I find sometimes it's hard to find your email address. That's Tim UK 2007, isn't it?
That's me.
Just if I can put that into, should send you an email.
You're linking me into Facebook already.
Yeah, add members. If I put your email address in there and send you an invite. I don't know if you're going to get two.
That's better than none.
That should be on its way to you. Yeah, you should have an invite coming.
Right.
And all you've got to do is say yes, and
well, I'll have to sign up to Facebook first, I suppose, won't I?
I don't know if you do with this, because
right.
somebody else asked, and I put their email address in, and they were okay to come in. I think you just got to put a name.
All right, I'll just
when you get the invite.
I'll work something out, and if you started taking up 2 or 3 hours of my day looking at Facebook, I'll blame you.
Yeah. No, you will enjoy it. There's something different. I mean, today, because of the grasshopper, again, that led to something else, and that led to Judy, the English setter, she was on the grasshopper, and she was got the Dickon Medal. for animal bravery after the
Oh yes,
war.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that came up, and so I found looking up Judy, I found the latest book. I've got the older one, 1973, but that he did one about 2 or 3 years ago, and he put a bit on YouTube, and talking about the book he'd done. So I added that this morning so people could see that. You see, there's something coming up all the time. Again, one thing leads to another, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, no, it's. I mean, today. You've got Judy. We've got. Well, we've got about the daughter who wrote to me and about the article on cars. No, yeah, cars, tanks, and aeroplanes. World War II. She asked if I'd put it in Britain at War, which I have done. I've added it to Britain at War links. And then the evacuation ships, HMS Scorpion. Sec has put on a piece about Corporal Blake. There's loads of stuff on there. The thing is, as I said, you read one thing and you think, well, I'll look that up, and in the end, you end up with a load of stuff.
Oh, I know.
One thing leads to another, and leads to another,
that's right.
so you just go through it. But yeah, it was ever so funny because this James was asking about John Taylor, and he put on the service number, and so I looked it up, found out where he died and everything. Well, where his memorial is and everything, and then Keith put on John William Taylor, and different service number. And then when I looked them up, they were both on the Scorpion.
Oh God!
And John William Taylor died when the ship went down, or in the water, and John Taylor died in April, and that happened in February. So he was about 2 months later. But there's some interesting stuff because
that gets you confused, doesn't it?
Well, it does because. James, who wrote it on Facebook, I got in touch with him and said, what was his full name? And he said, well, I don't really know. That was his wife's uncle or something, I think it was. So that he wasn't really related as such. So that he didn't know his full name, but so he didn't know if that was William or was it Walter. Could have been Walter, not as William. John William Taylor, but no relation. Well,
what else have I got? I've got a couple of things here. I've got one general question, which I was going to shovel in if it was. When you get the War Office reports of, now presumed POW.
Yeah.
The typewritten thing.
Yeah.
There's a handwritten number quite often on them.
Yeah.
And they're nearly always the same. I think would they be press releases?
What is the number? What is the
Sorry?
number? What is the number?
Well, they vary.
Yeah, do it start WO?
No. It's something like 143 or
143.
And a load of them will be 143, and some will be 144, and some will be 145. And the only thing I can think of is it's an abstract to a press release of, these are following being confirmed as prisoners of war or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have found quite a few of these lists up when I've looked up people to enter them in the Roll of Honour.
Yeah, and it's just a hand.
Yeah, the first one.
It's just a handwritten number.
Yeah, the first one is really missing, presumed dead.
Yeah.
And then the second one could be a POW, and the third one is confirmed POW.
Yeah.
And there's a fourth one. There's a fourth one.
Yeah. But if you
Issued in
look at
1945. He is not a POW. Things are strange. They really are strange.
I know, but if you look at them, there's this handwritten number on them.
Yeah,
and I've never been able to find out exactly what that number is. And the only conclusion I can come to is it is a it's a press release, because so many of them have, similar or the same number. That it must refer to another list of some sort.
Or is it something to do with the Red Cross? Because most of this was coming through the Red Cross, wasn't it?
Yeah, but one wouldn't have thought it had come from that.
Well,
it would be handwritten. It looks as though they've written it against it to refer it to another list, which they're just writing,
Yeah, I don't know if that would be a press release, because, would they notify that letter would have gone to, that confirmation would have gone to the next of kin. I don't know if they'd released it to the press at that stage.
Well, you did get lists of, didn't you, following have been killed in action, or following
when they're killed in action. But those three I just mentioned were really killed in action, now a POW, confirmed a POW. So they were. I don't know. I'll have a look at these numbers when I look the next ones up.
Yeah.
And see what the numbers are about. Yeah. Let me just a minute. These are my three latest books. I'll bring these up because other people will watch, and that might help people with books. That one, can you see it?
No, you're on the wrong camera. I've got the side of your face. You're on the other computer,
camera,
I think.
Am I?
Yeah,
oh.
I'll be looking at the side on all day.
Let me just. Yeah. Let me just.
Look.
Do you know I've lost my camera on this one now?
Oh, I can hear you. You went off completely, but I've got your sound now. But
yeah.
I've got you back.
I managed to get my other one working. I'm talking to you on my other one. Let me just get Blue Jeans up on this, and I'll go over to the. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
You've still got my camera on the other one.
Yeah, you've got both cameras. Well, whichever one you're looking at, the camera's working on.
Yeah, but I haven't got that up on the screen.
Oh. You've got two microphones on, I think, Ronnie. You've got a mega echo. That's better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfectly. That's
yeah. My other one's gone off. Let me just close that down and start it off again. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
No. Can you see me now?
No, I can hear you.
No. That's because there's flipping update. That's why I couldn't get it on, because the update I've now got to set up all the camera and everything.
Yeah. Well, I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Right, can you see me now?
I can see you.
Yeah, good.
But your sound's very coming to
I'm just going to turn.
like two microphones.
Yeah, you can hear me now.
That's perfect now.
Yeah, I'll do away with.
Well, you're back.
You've got. I'm using the mic on one, and the camera on the other.
Oh right.
I'm going to have to set everything up. Right, or on this one.
Right.
Can
That
you
looks
see
like
it?
a good book.
Yeah, that's.
Sorry, I'm just writing it down.
Yeah.
I can't see who it's who's it written by, Ronnie?
John Baxter.
Oh, John Baxter. Right. Yeah.
He died. He died about a month ago, I think. 2 months ago.
Yeah.
and that's quite good. And then that one, The Conjurer.
Oh yes, I've heard of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good book. He was the one who did the Britain's Got Talent. No,
Yeah.
it was X Factor, weren't it? X Factor.
Oh.
No, it weren't. It was Britain's Got Talent. And he, at the final, he brought on an army in full uniform. And that was wrong. The chap was the Conjurer, and he brought him on. I'm on that one. He brought him on at the end to talk about the POW thing on Britain's Got Talent, and then that one.
Well, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite good. That's where I got all the information really from about the grasshopper and the dragonfly and the scorpion. Anyway, I'll talk to you on this one now because I thought I was on the other camera. Right, this is my main computer, so I'm using the mic on this one and the camera on the other one. Oh dear. I don't know.
You're on a front view now rather than the side view.
Honestly, I wish they'd just leave Windows alone. They keep messing around with it, and you just get in so much of a mess with it. So I can hear you on my other one, but I can't on this one. Oh dear. Anyway, so that's the three books. They're the three books that I've been looking at this last month.
That's. I'll show you the one I got this week. You've seen that one?
Oh yeah, ships, yeah.
But I don't like it very much. It's the chap's it's just abstracts of stuff you've already read elsewhere. He's not actually done any research as far as I can see. It's all
this is what we started talking about last meeting, weren't we? Where some of the older books, I'm not having a go because I think Martin Fryer's book is going to be brilliant because he's done so much research into it.
Yeah, that's right.
So his is going to be brilliant. But a lot of the books you read now are just, as you say, abstracts. They're taken up from other places and just put it all together and called it their book. I still like, some of my best books are the FEPOW books themselves, the ones who were FEPOWs, who wrote it themselves.
Yeah.
Because you get the feeling of, we weren't there. We don't know what it was like.
No.
We can guess what it was like, but you can't.
I've got another one. I've got another one here, which is one of my favourite books, mainly because it concerns my dad more than anything else. But I don't think it's on the book list. Have you read that one? Further away.
Oh, the Emperor's Guest. Yeah, I've got.
Yeah, well, there are two Emperor's Guests.
Yeah.
This is by John Fletcher Cook, who was actually RAF. Well, he was actually really a civilian, I think.
Yeah.
That's a very good book.
Yeah, remind me where your dad was now.
Well, he was captured in Java. Well, he was in
Yeah,
Singapore
Java.
first of all, then captured in Java,
Yeah,
and then he went to Yoshida Maru, then Singapore Maru, to Moji.
yeah,
Then he went to Ubi. Then he
yeah,
went to Zensuji, and then
yeah,
he went to Mayata.
yeah. And I bet after the war he didn't want to travel.
He did actually, because
Did
he
he?
did with his work. He had to go sometimes, at least once every 2 or 3 years. He had to go all over the place,
Yeah.
except Japan.
Did I tell you about? Because my dad was released in French Indochina, and he was flown to Rangoon to hospital before they came home on the Chitral.
Mm,
But the first plane to take off crashed, and that was the ones with the really sick on board, and they all
mm,
died.
mm.
And he said he didn't want to go on a plane again. Did I tell you I chatted him up to come with me to the Birmingham show? And I used to work for a chap called Roy Snellen, and he chartered a plane from Norwich Airport to go to Birmingham, and he invited me to go with him. So I asked. He said, you can bring someone with you." So I asked Dad. "No, I don't want to go. No, I don't want to go." So I said, "Oh, yeah, that'll be good. We'll go to," because he used to help me in the shop. In our shop, he used to serve in there. So I said to him, "That'll be good. We'll see all the latest tellies and everything, Birmingham show." So in the end, I chatted him up to come, and we got on the plane. It was only a little small plane, a little chartered plane that held about 20, I suppose, 20 or 30. Anyway, we were on the plane, and we were going down the runway, and on to the right was a crashed plane. Oh dear! And that was ever so peculiar because the pilot invited, because we weren't a cockpit as such. That was, of course, that's just open, and he
Yeah.
invited one of the chaps who had another shop to go and sit by him, and he went and sat by him in the seat next to him, and they were talking about. And all of a sudden, he said, "No, you better go back. You better go back," and he was looking out to the side, and we didn't know what was going on. And then you saw these two flipping planes, and they came and they were over top of ours,
Oh,
and then they
God.
went round and started coming at us again, and they were RAF planes,
Oh, right. I'm going to
pilots
practice run.
that were doing a training run, and the pilot was going mad on the radio and telephone. He was going absolutely mad.
Oh, I'm surprised
And
they're allowed to do that.
in the end, they went, but God dear, oh dear, that was a bit frightening. But this
Mm.
is all, and Dad didn't want to go. Anyway, I think, is there anything else you want to bring up for anyone to hear?
No, I don't think so. I did make a note. I was hoping Keith might have been on. I had a couple of questions for Keith, but
Yeah, no, Keith.
but it
Keith said
it was
he
it
couldn't
was to
make it.
do with Brian Green's paperwork.
Hear me all right?
Yep, fine.
Uh, this was the first book my dad, the first book my dad actually let me read. Bit gruesome.
Mm. Sorry, I can't. What does it say? Something in your. Can't see it
It
actually.
says the third year of World War in pictures,
All right.
and he always had this in his cupboard, and some of it honestly is a bit gruesome, but that's all about Singapore, the fall of Singapore in it.
All right. Yeah. I see
And
that. Yeah.
this is the first book that Dad had in his cupboard, and he never bought it out. And he let me have it in the end, but it is very gruesome. Some really good maps in it, though.
Mm. Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, the Malayan one.
Mm.
Yeah, it's quite good. That's really the first one I read. He let me have it when I got in my teens.
Mm.
He let me have it to read, but uh, some of it is very gruesome, particularly the German bits. Ain't got much about the Japan in here. There's bits on Japan, but oh yeah, the terms of the Burma Rood. Because you don't really hear much about it now, the Burma Rood, do you?
No.
And that was quite interesting. But no, that is the first book. Is the very first book I read on the war.
Mm.
And then because my daughter is now in her 40s, she was really into history and the world, and she liked the World War. And there was a big series came out, and I've got them all here. A big series, about 10. Every month they brought a book out, and when she left home, she left it with me.
Mm.
That's quite good because that's got a lot about Singapore in there. Anyway, I think I've got to get back to my ensuite.
Lucky you.
Oh well, my
A good
boy is going to
afternoon.
come over. He's going to come over at 12, so I've got to clear the wall before he can come over because I've got to take all the tiles off.
Oh God! Right,
When
well, you better get on. Get
yeah,
on.
yeah, I'll get on
Nice
with
to have
that.
a personal conversation with you.
Yeah, I'll just stop the record there. But thanks for coming. I'm sorry there's only me and you, and I haven't
Oh,
been out to
crikey, don't worry
the
me. I'm glad to have you on my own.
house. Let me just turn off record.